Hey guys, tonight we're going to do something a little different. We're going to step into your straw sandals, adjust that slightly uncomfortable kataginu over your shoulders, and take a long, witty walk through feudal Japan as a samurai on patrol. Not in a flashy battlefield, not in some epic duel, but in that space between the quiet, the fog, the long stretches of road where nothing really happens, and your mind becomes your loudest companion. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, it only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, I'd love to know what city are you in, and what time is it for you right now. Let me know in the comments. It always amazes me how this sleepy little space brings together people from all over the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up before the sun even remembers to rise. There's no rooster, no alarm, just the low, scratchy chorus of frogs fading into the distance, and the scent of dew collecting on pine. Your patrol is stiff, the mat underneath unforgiving, and your back feels like it argued with a rock during the night and lost. Still, you stretch your shoulders, shake the chill out of your sleeves, and rise. The village is silent, no clanking pots, no squealing children, just the distant swish of bamboo brushing against itself. You're stationed on the outer edge of a province you can't pronounce properly, tasked with patrolling a road that, by all accounts, leads nowhere interesting, but orders are orders. So, you tug your hitadari tighter, fasten the worn sash around your waist, and give your trusted katana a gentle pat, like a dog that doesn't bark much but still follows you everywhere. Your sandals are damp from last night's rain. They squish just a little. You pretend not to mind. The patrol path is still cloaked in fog, the kind that doesn't just obscure vision, it dampens sound. Even your own footsteps sound like they're being swallowed whole. You pass a stone marker etched with characters you can barely read. Something about a boundary, something about loyalty. You nod at it anyway, like it's an old acquaintance who still owes you a drink. Boredom isn't immediate, it creeps. At first, there's a sense of purpose. You scan the woods, you assess the terrain, you try to remember that one technique from your fencing teacher that you definitely didn't master. But 5 minutes later, you're watching a snail crawl across a mossy rock and wondering whether it feels proud of its progress. There are no enemies, there are no farmers, there are no merchants rattling carts full of pickled radish. Just you, the fog, and a dirt road that looks suspiciously like the one behind you. You try humming, that lasts about 8 seconds. You consider whistling, but remember how your last commander said whistling invites bad luck. And while you don't entirely believe him, you also haven't not believed him. So you talk to yourself, not loudly, just little murmurs. Still alive, you mutter as your sandal catches on a tree root. Well done, me. A leaf lands on your shoulder. You stare at it for a moment like it might have advice. It doesn't. The thing is, patrols aren't glorious. No one writes poems about the 6th time you pass the same weird-looking rock, but they're necessary. You know that? Even if it feels like all you're defending today is the honor of being mildly damp and slightly late for breakfast. History books won't mention this day. Not the fog, not your slightly itchy sleeve, not the way your stomach grumbled at the exact same moment a crow called overhead. But you remember, and maybe that's enough. You adjust the strap on your shoulder, feeling the weight of the sword dig in just slightly. Not painful, just there, like a persistent thought you can't quite shake. The road stretches ahead, gently sloping uphill. You sigh, not out of exhaustion, but because the silence has started folding in on itself. And sometimes a sigh is just your way of saying, yep, still here. Your horse, if you're lucky enough to have one on this patrol, trudges along behind you with the enthusiasm of a particularly unimpressed ox. You named him Sora, mostly because he stares at the sky a lot and occasionally steps on your foot. You talk to him more than you talk to people these days. He doesn't answer, of course, but it does snort every time you try to whistle a tune. That's basically conversation. You stop briefly at a stream, not for water, just to listen. The trickle is a nice change from the squelch of your sandals. You lean down, splash your face, and catch your own reflection. You look tired, not from fighting, not from lack of sleep, just from repetition. One tree starts to look like another. One hill melts into the next. You begin to wonder if you're stuck in an eternal loop of nature's copy-paste. And then you notice something, a small pile of rocks, stacked deliberately at the edge of the path, not big enough to be a marker, too neat to be random, a message, a prank, or maybe, like you, someone else just needed something, anything to do. That's the thing, boredom isn't the enemy, it's the quiet little brother of madness, lurking just behind your thoughts, waiting for you to count the same crack in the road a third time. You try to remember the Bushido teachings, discipline, honor, composure, but none of the scrolls ever addressed what to do when you're 90 minutes into a patrol and your only adversary is a beetle you've been watching push a twig in a circle. You pick up a stick, start idly tapping it against your leg. Tap, tap. The rhythm feels vaguely musical. You make a game of how many steps it takes between each tree, then how many breaths you take before your stomach growls again. You recall something your old captain once said, a samurai who cannot endure stillness will panic and noise. At that time, you thought he was being poetic. Now, you realize he might have just been bored too. Out of nowhere, a breeze lifts through the trees, shifting the leaves like whispering ghosts. You pause, not because of danger, just because it breaks the monotony. The wind is cool against your neck, and for a second, you're grateful for the patrol, for the slowness, for the rare permission to exist without performance. And here's the odd part: most people imagine samurai lives filled with drama, duels at sunrise, forbidden love, shoguns barking orders. But the truth is you spend more time walking, waiting, and wondering if the rice back at camp will still be warm by the time you get back. There's an odd comfort in that. You pass a stump shaped like a crouching cat and decide to name a commander Napsalot. It makes you smile, which is either a small victory or a quiet warning sign. Either way, it beats talking to the beetle again. Scholars still argue today whether these long patrols were truly useful, or mostly ceremonial, just a way to keep samurai active during long peacetime stretches. Maybe both, maybe neither. Doesn't change the fact that you're here, step by step, fog lifting just a little, silence wrapping around you like a blanket that's a little frayed at the edges, but still warm. You glance up at the gray sky, not looking for omens, just wondering what kind of cloud that is. You don't know its name, but you decide to call it Nothing Happens Today, and you're okay with that? You settle into the rhythm of the walk, your steps crunching softly on gravel and fallen leaves. The early sun filters through the trees, casting long, lazy shadows that stretch across the path like sleepy cats. You remind yourself to stay alert, but between you and me, the real challenge isn't the threat of bandits or wild animals. It's the slow burn of boredom that threatens to sneak up and lull you into daydreams. Now, you might think that boredom is a modern invention, but no warriors in armor with swords have wrestled with it for centuries. As a samurai, you know long patrols mean more time staring at the back of your own eyelids than at anything exciting. The countryside blurs together, mossy rocks, ancient trees, and that one weirdly bent branch where looks like a dragon's tail. History books tell us samurai were disciplined warriors, bound by Bushido, the way of the warrior. But the truth is, even the most dedicated fighters needed ways to pass the time when there was nothing to fight. You start to remember some of the tricks you learned, games, stories, little rituals that made the endless marches bearable. One favorite pastime is the kataginu, basically poetry cards. You carry a small set in your pack, worn from years of handling. When the mood strikes, you pull them out and test your memory by matching the first line of a poem to the second. It's a quiet challenge, perfect for sharpening the mind without moving a muscle. And bonus, it keeps your poetic side from turning into a total fog. But here's a fun fact: some scholars still debate how much samurai actually play games like karuta on patrols. After all, some thought it was too frivolous for the serious life of a warrior. Others argue it was an essential mental exercise. Guess the truth lies somewhere in between. You decide it's your secret weapon against illness, Occasionally, you pass a patch of wildflowers. You pause and pluck a single bloom, rolling it between your fingers as you watch a butterfly dance nearby. You think about how even the smallest things can be a welcome distraction on a long, monotonous day. Then there's the occasional conversation with your horse's aura, who still doesn't talk back, but at least listens. You joke quietly, telling him about the strange new song stuck in your head, or about the old village rumor that the next town over is haunted by a mischievous fox spirit. You suspect Sora is only humoring you. Sometimes you try your hand at calligraphy, pulling out a small scroll and brush. The brush strokes require focus, and for a while, the outside world slips away as you trace the delicate characters. It's a slow, calming dance of ink and paperon that's almost meditative. And yet, even in these quiet moments, a small restlessness nags at the edge of your mind. The samurai life isn't just about boredom. It's about preparation. Every dull patrol, every quiet step, every idle moment is practice for the unexpected. History still debates whether samurai training focused much on discipline or creativity, but you suspect it was a little bit of both. So you keep walking, keep watching, keep finding small pockets of peace in the endless march. The road stretches ahead, mysterious and slow, but you steady, patient, ever watchful, ready for whatever comes next. You glance down at your sandals, feeling the rough texture of the straw pressing against your skin. They're scuffed and worn, fraying at the edges like an old friend who's seen better days. The road beneath your feet is uneven, a patchwork of mud and stones, and with every step, you're reminded that comfort is a luxury you don't often get on these long patrols. You begin to talk quietly to your sandals. It sounds a bit crazy, but it's a surprisingly common thing among samurai on patrols to strike up little conversations with inanimate objects, whether it's your sword, your horse, or your shoes. The theory, it keeps your mind occupied, keeps the loneliness at bay. You try out a few jokes on your sandals, mostly about how much they've suffered carrying your weight through rain and shine, and how maybe, just maybe, they deserve a little vacation someday. Of course, your sandals don't answer. They never do, but they don't complain either, which is more than you can say for some of your comrades. This kind of self-talk is more than just silliness. It's a way to keep your thoughts anchored, to remind yourself that you're still here, still aware, still connected to the world around you. Historians debate how common this practice really was. Some suggest it was widespread, while others think it was a rare quirk of certain individuals. But for you, it feels natural, even necessary. As you walk, you notice the subtle sounds around you, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the gentle clink of your armor. You start to appreciate these small details more and more. They become your companions on this endless road. You take a moment to breathe deeply, filling your lungs with the crisp forest air. It's refreshing, a quiet reminder that even in the monotony, there's life all around you. The world doesn't pause just because your patrol is slow. At times like this, you find yourself slipping into daydreams, imagining a cozy inn at the end of the road, with warm food and soft futons. You picture the faces of friends and family, the laughter and stories waiting for you. These moments of longing aren't weakness. They're part of being human. You remember that not all samurai handled boredom the same way. Some turned to poetry, others to meditation, and some, like you, found comfort in the company of quiet objects and simple thoughts. It's one of those things history books don't often capture. Small, human ways warriors coped when the swords were sheathed and the battles were far away. As the sun rises higher, you straighten your back and prepare for the next stretch of road. Your sandals might be worn, your feet a little sore, but your spirit remains steady. After all, the long patrol is not just a journey through the forest, it's a journey through your own patience and resilience. And that, you realize, might be the greatest lesson of all. You reach into your pack and pull out a small folded piece of paper, a precious bundle of ink and brush strokes. Here, makeshift poetry cards. It's your secret weapon against the creeping dullness that patrols bring. As you shuffle the cards between your fingers, the familiar feel sparks a tiny flicker of excitement. You draw a card and read the opening lines of a haiku, A scene of cherry blossoms falling gently onto a still pond. You close your eyes and let the image settle, feeling the soft petals brushing your mind like a delicate breeze. Then you flip the card over and recite the second, half simple, serene, perfect. You smile to yourself. Poetry has a way of painting the ordinary with magic. Even here, on this quiet path, words can transport you to places far beyond the forest and mud. You try your hand at composing your own lines. Something about the way the morning mist clings to the trees, or how the distant mountains look like ink-wash paintings come to life. You jot down a few shaky characters on a scrap of paper, knowing they'll never be perfect, but they're yours. There's a little-known story that samurai were not just warriors, but also poets and artists. And some historians argue this duality was essential to their identity. Others say it was just a pastime for the privileged few. Regardless, for you, poetry is a quiet rebellion against the monotony. As you continue walking, you hum a tune inspired by your verses. The rhythm blends with the sounds of the forest chirping birds. The rustling leaves, and for a moment, the patrol doesn't feel quite so endless. You tuck the cards away and glance at the sky, wondering if the cherry blossoms are blooming yet back home. Maybe one day, you'll be there again, sitting beneath a sakura tree with no sword to carry, just a pen and paper. Until then, you walk on, carrying poetry in your heart like a secret talisman against boredom. You settle yourself against a sturdy tree trunk, the rough bark pressing into your back as you cross your legs in a loose, comfortable position. You close your eyes, ready to try Zazen Samurai's version of meditation. It's supposed to calm the mind, sharpen the senses, and prepare you for whatever comes next. But as you sit there in perfect stillness, your thoughts begin to wander. Instead of deep focus, your brain offers up a highlight reel of yesterday's missteps, that clumsy stumble over a root, the time you accidentally startled a family of squirrels, and that weird noise you heard but couldn't identify. You try to bring your attention back to your breath, but a gentle breeze teases the leaves above, drawing your gaze upward. Before long, you realize you've slipped into what your comrades jokingly call fake meditation, eyes closed, body still, but mind drifting off for a quick nap. It's not officially sanctioned by any dojo, but it's common enough that historians still debate whether samurai truly mastered meditation or mostly used it as an excuse for a quick silency on patrol. You smile to yourself. There is comfort in this small rebellion. The act of sitting still, pretending to meditate, lets your mind rest without guilt. After all, even disciplined warriors need breaks. You feel the sun warm your face, the rhythm of distant birds' song mixing with the soft rustling of the forest floor. It's peaceful here, no swords clashing, no shouts echoing, just the gentle hum of life moving around you. After a few more minutes, you stretch, shake out your limbs, and rise feeling a little more grounded. Whether you actually cleared your mind or just napped doesn't really matter. The important part is that you gave yourself a moment to pause amid the long hours. You hoist your pack, tighten your sash, and prepare to keep moving forward, ready for whatever boredom or adventure the road might bring next. You find yourself wandering near a cluster of ancient cedar trees, their thick trunks towering like silent guardians of the forest. The scent of pine fills the air, sharp, refreshing contrast to the earthy dampness underfoot. You pause to run your fingers along the rough bark, feeling the grooves and ridges etched by centuries of weather. As you stand there, a sudden rustling catches your attention. You crouch low and spot a small, brightly colored insect crawling on a leaf, its wings shimmering like tiny stained glass. You smile. Even on the dullest patrol, nature manages to sneak in little surprises. Your mind drifts to the fact that samurai were expected not only to master swordsmanship but also to cultivate a deep appreciation for the natural world. This blend of martial skill and artistic sensitivity is a cornerstone of Bushido. Yet historians still debate how much samurai actually practice these arts daily, especially during long patrols. You decide to try a small exercise, naming the trees, plants, and insects you see as if you were cataloging a living museum. It's a game, sure, but it sharpens your observation and keeps boredom at bay. The sunlight filters through the branches, casting dappled shadows that dance on the forest floor. You trace the patterns with your eyes, imagining stories hidden in the shaped dragons, wave of ancient spirits watching over you. Suddenly, a light breeze carries the faint sound of laughter from a distant village. It's a reminder that beyond this quiet forest path, life carries a noisy, messy, and full of stories you might never hear. You breathe deeply, feeling grounded yet connected to a bigger world. The road ahead is long, but these small moments, these quiet glimpses make it bearable. You adjust your grip on your sword, ready to continue the patrol with a little more patience and a touch more wonder. You step carefully over a fallen branch, feeling the crunch of dry leaves beneath your feet. The forest around you feels alive but distant, like a dream you're only half awake for. You glance at your katana, wondering how often it's really needed out here on these long, quiet patrols. There's an odd comfort in the sword's weight, a reminder of your duty, your identity. But sometimes, when the hours stretch and the scenery blurs, you wonder if it's more of a prop than a tool. You recall stories of samurai who practiced intricate sword forms on empty hillsides just to keep their hands busy. And scholars still debate how much of this was practical training versus ritual performance. To distract yourself, you start tracing little patterns in the dirt with a stick, a secret game you invented to pass time. Circles within circles, lines crossing in strange shapes. You imagine they're maps, secret codes for comrades, or even symbols to keep evil spirits away. Of course, you don't believe in spirits much, but a little superstition never hurt anyone on a lonely road. You notice a cluster of mushrooms growing near the base of a tree. Their pale caps gleam softly, and you wonder if they're edible, or if they just add to your boredom by making you sick. The thought makes you chuckle softly. History books mention samurai's deep knowledge of plants and herbs, some used for medicine or poison, but whether your patrols included foraging lessons is still debated among scholars. You decide it's best not to find out the hard way. You push on, the sun climbing higher, the shadows shortening. The monotony is still there, but you're learning to find little sparks of interesting moments that remind you the world is never truly still. And maybe that's the key to surviving long patrols, not waiting for excitement, but finding meaning in the quiet. You pause near a quiet clearing, where sunlight spills like warm honey through the branches. The stillness invites you to take a breath and settle in. You pull out your small ink zone and brush, tools you carry not just for battle plans, but for practicing calligraphy, the art of beautiful writing. You dip the brush in ink and let the first stroke glide across the paper. The steady flow requires patience and precision, turning your wandering mind into focused calm. This practice isn't just artistic flair, it's a discipline meant to cultivate balance between mind and body. You recall that samurai were often expected to master multiple arts, from swordsmanship to poetry to calligraphy. Yet historians continue to debate whether all samurai practiced these arts seriously, or if it was mostly the domain of higher-ranking warriors. As you write, you notice the paper soaking up the ink in unpredictable ways, creating shapes that almost look like ancient spirits. You smile sometimes. The best part of the practice is the unexpected patterns that emerge. The brush strokes feel like a quiet conversation with yourself, a meditative act that breaks the monotony of the patrol. You fold the paper carefully, tucking it away like a secret treasure. As you stand, a gentle breeze stirs the leaves, carrying with it the faint scent of distant rain. You listen closely, feeling grounded in the moment but aware that the journey continues. The road ahead is long, but your hands steady, your mind focused. You're ready to keep walking on step, one brush stroke at a time. You tighten the straps of your armor, feeling the familiar weight settle across your shoulders and chest. The metal plates clink softly as you move, reminders of both protection and the burdens you carry. The sun filters through the leaves, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow that make the forest floor look like a living mosaic. You think back to stories of samurai who took pride in their armor's craftsmanship, each piece carefully designed not only for defense, but to reflect their clan's identity. Yet historians still debate how often samurai actually wore full armor during long patrols, given how heavy and cumbersome it could be. As you walk, you notice the occasional scratch or dent on your armor scars from past encounters, or maybe just from brushing against rough branches. Each mark tells a story, a silent testament to the life you lead, To keep your mind occupied, you start counting the leaves fluttering down from the trees, making a game of guessing which ones will land closest to your feet. It's silly, but it brings a small smile to your face. Suddenly, a crow caws loudly nearby, startling you. You chuckle softly, nature's way of reminding you that you're never truly alone on patrol. The rhythm of your steps, the steady weight of armor, and the dance of sunlight through the trees blend into a quiet harmony. You realize that even in solitude, there's a strange kind of company here. You straighten your posture, ready to face the rest of the patrol with steady breath and calm mind, knowing that every step forward is part of a larger journey. You slow your pace as the forest thins, revealing patches of wild bamboo swaying gently in the breeze. The tall stalks whisper secrets as they brush against each other, and you pause to listen. It's a sound both soothing and mysterious, like nature's own lullaby. You recall tales of samurai using bamboo for more than just scenery, crafting weapons, tools, and even musical instruments. It's fascinating how such a simple plant could play a vital role in their daily lives. Yet historians debate how much bamboo was actually used on patrols versus in village life. You pick up a fallen bamboo shoot, feeling its smooth, hollow texture in your hand. You imagine carving small flutes or whistles from it, sounds to pass the time or send signals. The idea of music in the middle of a silent patrol feels oddly comforting. As you walk on, you notice patterns in the bamboo leaf, destiny details that usually go unnoticed. It's a reminder that even in monotony, beauty can be found if you pay attention. You breathe in the fresh scent of the forest, letting it fill your lungs and clear your mind. This quiet moment is a small treasure in the long day ahead. With a light heart and steady steps, you continue forward, ready to face whatever the road holds next. You spot a small cluster of wild berries hanging from a low bush, their deep red hues brought against the green foliage. Your curiosity piqued, you lean in closer to inspect them, while you know better than to eat just anything on patrol. These berries remind you of the samurai's knowledge of nature, not just for survival, but for healing. The samurai often carried simple herbal remedies, and some historians argue that understanding medicinal plants was crucial during long patrols far from villages. Others suggest that many relied more on village healers and less on self-treatment. The debate still goes on. You carefully pick a single berry, examining its texture and color. You imagine how it might taste, sweet or sour, or maybe a little of both. It's a small reminder of life's surprises. Even in the quietest moments, you tuck the berry away, deciding it's better as a token and a snack. Your thoughts wander to how nature provided both comfort and caution on the road. You continue your patrol, the rhythm of footsteps mingling with the soft rustle of leaves and the occasional bird call. The forest seems alive with stories waiting to be discovered. With each step, you feel more connected not just to the path beneath your feet, but to the long history of those who walked it before you. You come across an old stone lantern, half covered in moss and lichen, standing quietly beside the path. It looks like it's been there for decades, maybe centuries, a silent witness to countless patrols like yours. You reach out and trace the rough surface, imagining the hands that built it long ago. Lanterns like these were more than decorations, they guided travelers through dark forests and foggy nights. Samurai on patrols often relied on them as landmarks, small beacons in a vast and sometimes confusing wilderness. Historians still debate just how frequently these markers were used, given the risks of revealing positions to enemies. You crouch down, noticing tiny carvings on the lanterns, base symbols that look like prayers or wishes for safe journeys. It strikes you how spirituality and practicality intertwine in samurai life. As you stand, you catch a glimpse of a squirrel darting away, its bushy tail flicking like a soft brushstroke against the background. Even in solitude, life buzzes quietly around you. You take a deep breath, feeling the cool forest air fill your lungs. The path stretches onward, and though the lantern will stay rooted in place, you must keep moving. With steady heart and steady steps, you resume your patrol, carrying both history and hope with you. You pause by a small stream, the water bubbling softly over smooth stones. You kneel to cup the cool liquid in your hands and drink deeply, feeling refreshed. The sound of the flowing water is soothing, a natural melody that breaks the monotony of your patrol. Streams like this were vital lifelines for samurai on long journeys, providing not just water but also places to rest and reflect. Yet historians debate how often patrol routes were planned around such natural resources versus strategic concerns. You take a moment to watch the fish dart beneath the surface, their scales flickering like tiny jewels. You imagine the countless samurai before you pause here, feeling the same calm, sharing the same quiet thoughts. As you stand, you notice a small frog perched on a nearby rock, blinking lazily. It's a simple moment, but one that reminds you how even the smallest creatures can bring a spark of life to an otherwise quiet day. You tighten your grip on your pack and sword, ready to keep moving. The path ahead is long and winding, but moments like this make the journey bearable. With a steady breath and a calm mind, you continue onward, carrying the peace of the stream with you. You walk along the edge of a sun-dappled clearing, feeling the warmth on your skin and the gentle rustle of grass underfoot. The day's patrol is winding down, and you find yourself reflecting on the strange mix of boredom and beauty you've experienced. Throughout that journey, you've learned to find meaning in small moments, poetry in a falling leaf, the rhythm of footsteps, the quiet companionship of your thoughts. These long patrols aren't just about vigilance. They're lessons in patience, observation, and quiet resilience. You remember stories that samurai were stoic warriors, unbending and fierce. Yet, behind the armor and discipline, there's a human side often overlooked on that craves simple pleasures and moments of peace. Historians still debate how openly samurai expressed these softer sides, but your experience says they were very real. As the sun dips lower, casting golden hues over the forest, you feel a gentle calm settle over you. The patrol isn't over, but you found a rhythm, a way to carry boredom lightly and embrace the slow passage of time. You take a deep breath, feeling connected to the land, the history, and yourself. Whatever tomorrow brings, you're ready to face it, steady, patient, and ever watchful. Now, as the day softly fades into night, you feel the gentle weight of calm settling in your chest. The world around you quiets, the distant calls of birds replaced by the whisper of the evening breeze through the trees. Your breath slows, each inhale and exhale a lullaby carrying you closer to rest. You can almost feel the softness of a futon beneath you, the warm glow of a paper lantern flickering gently nearby. The steady rhythm of your heartbeat matches the pulse of the night, a quiet reminder that this momentous, peaceful pause is yours. Let your thoughts drift like cherry blossoms on a gentle stream, floating effortlessly, without hurry or worry. The road you walked today, the stories you carried, all now blend into the serene silence of dusk. Sleep will come soon, wrapping you in its gentle embrace, and when you wake, the world will be waiting, ready for your steady steps once more. Good night, dear traveler. Rest well, and may your dreams be as peaceful as this quiet forest path.